do if there's no water? You gotta drink water, right? You have to live. So this is our lake out here. Look at the beautiful view. It looks like it might be clean. It looks like it might be promising and we can get something, maybe drink from it. Do you think you would just drink this straight? Let's find out. So, if you fill up from an area that you can reach, just keep in mind that's where all the debris goes. That's where all the algae is. This happens to be a boating marina area. This is where everybody loads. And last year when I got a sample, we were looking at gasoline just sitting on top. I mean, if I'd thrown a match on it, we would have had fire and water together. It was that great. So consider the different things that are in your water. Also, there have been some contaminations to our waters. Recently, the Colorado River, anybody who lives near the Colorado River, was contaminated with a large amount of arsenic and many other things. Basically what happened is there's a mine that dumped out just tons of things that were toxic into the water. So let's learn about water, and if you're going to purify this stuff because you don't have a storage, there's a lot you need to learn. Water purification. There's a lot of things to know about it. Water treatments. Substances are first removed at a water treatment plant for human drinking water. This is the suspended solids first, and then bacteria, algae, viruses, and fungi. Any of the parasites or other fun little organisms that are in there can be purified out in stage 2 as well. Then minerals such as iron, manganese, and sulfur, things like that, that are out of balance and are in excess and would probably throw you for a kilter if you were to drink it in those concentrations. Those are then balanced. And then chemical pollutants such as fertilizers and other things are then taken out. So let's do a demo and I'll just show you some of these things. Okay, step 1 is suspended solids. So we just got that sample down at the lake. If you want to see the difference between these, I'm not sure if you can. This is actual purified water, and this one, when you hold it up to the light, is darker. There's a lot of stuff in it, a lot of gunk. So if you can see the difference in those, what we're going to do is try to get this as close to this as we can. You've got to have some tools. So, number 1, if we're going to get the suspended solids out of there, there's probably algae, there's probably other stuff. Usually when you go collect water, you also get a whole bunch of sand, soot, things like that in it. And so the first stage is to just put it through a sieve and to make sure that you get those solids out. I would not do this just once. I would do this again. I would put a cloth over it the second time. So as you are filtering, you have a finer weave. Thank you. And as that water gets filtered a second time, it should get just a little bit more pure looking. Looks can be deceiving. Keep that in mind. I might ask you, would you drink this water at this phase? Looks better. I'd be careful with that. You ever had giardia before when you go to the other countries and you drink the water you're not quite used to? Alright, so we have here the 2 different samples, and we have one filtered ones. It's kind of cloudy. And then this one is a little bit more pure looking. So we're trying to purify even more and more and more. So the next phase is to take the bacteria, algae, viruses, all those other fun things out. The tools that I have just happen to be some filters. Now, this is a makeshift Berkey filter. If you've ever heard of a Berkey filter, it has a filter down in here. I'm not sure if you can see that very well. The filter is inside an activated charcoal, and anything that has activated charcoal is going to take out a whole bunch of unwanted things. So as far as bacteria and viruses go, the outside shell of this hard ceramic filter is a diatomaceous earth, and it's impregnated with colloidal silver. So that colloidal silver is in there, and as you know, colloidal silver, it kills bacteria, viruses, all those other fun things, and parasites are killed by diatomaceous earth. So with this filter, you have a ceramic outlet, and what that does is the holes in the ceramic, they're so small, a lot of these things just won't get through. And then it gets hit with the diatomaceous earth, and then it gets hit with the colloidal silver, and it really tends to purify your water that much more. The only problem is that you still, even though you filtered this pretty good a second time, you still don't want all of the soot and the dirt and the things that you cannot see to go up against that filter, because it's going to go really slow and block it. I mean, think of a sieve that has already been blocked, and you're like scooping it with a spoon and you're trying to get it to go through. With this filter, the way that they've designed it is they have a little hat or a little filter that fits over the top of it, and it is held down by just a simple rubber band. So when you filter your twice already filtered water, the first stage is to put the hat on there. Again, this is if you're making your own makeshift item, and you can probably come up with brilliant things on your own that are kind of homemade. So this is a filter that goes over it. The next stage is to take this and allow it to filter through. So when it comes out, it will come out this spigot, and it's gone through once. Then you're going to put it through again without this, and you just allow it to go through. Typically, there's been some evidence that shows that this is enough, because the filter is going to take you through stage 2, it's going to get rid of sediment, your suspended solids are going to be gone, and actually let's go over to the slide now. So suspended solids are really purified out, you've done a good job. You've had some measures taken to get rid of bacteria, algae, viruses, fungi, even parasites. But the minerals and the iron, manganese, and sulfur that are out of balance, those are going to be balanced a little bit by the activated charcoal. It's just going to take all of those minerals, and as it funnels through, it will usually purify out the excess. You don't know for sure, you are taking a chance when you do that. Chemical pollutants such as fertilizers also get chelated out in activated charcoal filters. And just the fact that you've got colloidal silver and you've got, you know, this going on every single time you run it through one of these makeshift filters, then it's going to kill more and more and more every single time that it goes through of number 2, your little organisms. But as far as chemical pollutants go, you can only go so far when you have any filter out there that doesn't go as far as distilling it, in other words, boiling it. Okay, so this is a lake here, mountain, all the water goes up, and as it rises up, this is a steam distillation, sort of a natural system. As the sun hits the water and it evaporates up, what it does is it what? It rains down. The rains came down and the floods came up, right? So as it rains down, it goes through like rivers, it hits mountains. What are these things made of? They're made of mineral. So you go to a point where all of the pollutants, all of the bacteria, all of the other things are left behind, and the water literally lifts as H2O molecules with not much else attached to it. It's as close to pure H2O as you can get. And as it goes up into the clouds, and then the other conditions become right for it to rain, it rains down. Now, pure H2O, I think we already talked about the pH level of it is like a 7, which is slightly acidic for your blood. And so if you look at how the natural system goes, when it rains down, it either hits plants, it hits minerals from mountains, it goes through rivers, and it runs through the rocks and things like that. And not only when it's a moving source of water does it gain all this kinetic energy, and there's sort of a life and a vibrance that goes through the water, but it hits mineral. Plants have minerals, everything else that it hits on the ground has minerals. And so it remineralizes itself, but then it can collect into pools of water. The only problem is sometimes, this is where it started, right? And it was pretty dirty in this area. The sample that we got this morning had a lot of things in it that are extremely toxic. And I'll show you in a couple of slides here some actual samples of already purified water and how still the purified water where I live in the Utah Valley area of Utah still has too much mineral after it's gone through the whole water purification system that they provide in our municipal systems. Alright, so if you don't filter your water or cleanse the water, kind of like this stuff, it is about the same tinge and color as this. Then bacteria, viruses, parasites, fungi, chemical contaminants, ill-proportioned minerals, meaning too much of one or the other or too little, that can alter the balance in your body chemistry. All of these can cause illness. Some of them can be fatal. So when I'm talking about ill-proportioned, think of seawater. You get a little crazy and punch drunk off of seawater because it messes up your electrolytes, right? Well, there's other minerals that can really mess up other things in your body. I had this sample taken. This is an already filtered water. This came out of my tap. This came out of my reverse osmosis system, which is really similar to the way that I just demoed for you to see just an activated charcoal system working. But it would take what I did in this little demo of the makeshift filter, and it would filter it with 2 more filters, twice more. And it's the closest thing you can get to distilled water without actually steam distilling it, which tends to take a lot of extra energy to steam distill water. So our family has chosen to do this, and the sediment is really small here compared to this much if you don't filter it. So what is this stuff? I researched it, and there's too much calcium chloride, there's too much phosphorus, and there's too much sodium, and the wrong kind of binding of sodium in the Utah Valley water. And so the very lake that we went down to, this stuff right here, has too much of all this stuff. It would totally imbalance your system over time, and probably mess up not only some chemical reactions over time, but that's not going to be good for your bones either. So if you're taking the wrong kind of minerals, it can cause the body to then deposit them into what? Calcifications, creaky joints, even stones in the kidneys or other organs like gallstones. Do you know the rate of medical surgeries done to get rid of stones here in Utah Valley is extremely high? And the more that I tell people, hey, Maybe it's because this stuff's getting in you all the time. Maybe you just keep drinking the tap water and you don't care and you don't see it. Well, look at it. Learn what your water has in it and what it doesn't. And you may not even have to do those tests if you just take control of your own water purification and get your own filtering systems. So what's the best way to go about this? You got to make sure that things like this aren't going to get in. And so your greatest microbial risks are associated with the ingestion of water that's contaminated. Remember that guy sitting next to the river doing his business? Fecal matter from humans or animals, including birds. Okay? So if you can't control all of the people in your neighborhood, which isn't really a Christ-like way of going about it, you can teach them and you can get them on board and you can get them to help with the sanitation of the area if you are trying to live off of water that doesn't come out of the tap and you're in emergency times, right? If you can get them to keep their stuff from contaminating the water, I'm sorry, you still got animals. I mean, how many animals were being fed as pets, and then all of a sudden they've got to go down and they're going to drink this water. They're going to get a massive amount of things that are not healthy. And then they're going to poop them out and make it worse. And then the cycle just continues and gets dirtier and dirtier. So feces can be a source of pathogenic bacteria, viruses, protozoa, and helminths. That's a type of worm. And many of the illnesses that they can cause can turn to be fatal or just make you really sick for many years. Your bacteria risks, we were looking at these. So just as a review, typhoid, cholera, many other kinds. Viruses like Hep A, Hep E, the norovirus, the sapovirus, rotavirus. None of them look interesting for me to get, right? I don't want any of these. Giardia. Cryptosporidium. This was in the pool that I taught water aerobics at for a while until they got the UV filtration systems at $1 million a pop for the huge systems. But UV rays, they, in a high enough directed concentration, they do kill these kinds of pathogens. So, especially in third world countries, I think I talked about this in sanitation. This one is the one that gets into your legs and or your feet, and you have to kind of pull them out with a popsicle stick and just roll them out. Or I just came across this information. If you were trying to get rid of this guy right here, a whole bunch of these. Those who have used the military micronutrients called MMF, that can be combined with the proper solution of citric acid taken in a super hot bath. And with the citric acid, the MMF, and the hot bath, these little guys will actually exit. They'll start dying, and within a couple of hours, they'll start coming out of your legs themselves. And it's not pleasant, but they will leave, and 100% of them will leave. So, pollution. I'm just going to read this. In 1948, a study showed that the Utah lake was being seriously polluted. So there's not only imbalances in chemicals and things, but it was seriously polluted. And as a result, Utah County cities decided to plan how and where to build sewage treatment plants instead of dumping raw sewage into the lake. Yes, they did that until 1948, etc., etc., etc. I would look up online where your water source that's near you, I would look up what kind of challenges that your city has with the water that they then purify for you. So have lots of clean water. Let's see. That's the next segment. All right. So really, what's the best way? We were talking about the Colorado River and its contamination. So if you get a massive amount of, say, arsenic in there, biological warfare, even if a whole bunch, If a whole bunch of snakes die and the venom from their bodies get into the water and you have contamination that way until nature takes its course and breaks it down naturally, if you've got a concentration there, if there are dead animals that are in your water source, sometimes if there's wars, plagues, or if there's people who are dying, then they can contaminate the water as they die and if they're in the water. So there's a lot of things, yeah, we probably don't want to think about those, but your water purification needs to be able to handle the worst case scenario. The best thing I've ever seen is a water distiller. So how it works is it's going to boil the water, and as it boils, the little water spats that happen as the water's rolling and as the water spits up, that's not going to get into the catch area. There's a lot of makeshift ways you can make a water distiller in other ways. But you have to make sure that as it's going to a rolling boil and it steams, that there's no spitting of that contaminated water into the catch area. It needs to go up and it needs to come down, be cooled, and then be pure steam that has been cooled. So there's a few reasons why. When you boil water, because you have learned that the water's been contaminated, you are concentrating the chemicals. So if there's an imbalance of the wrong kinds of minerals, you're actually making it worse if you just decide, well, I'm just going to boil the water, right? I'd rather you go through this water purification system first and then boil the water afterwards, right? It's got to be as clean as possible, and you do not want to contaminate, or you don't want to concentrate those. So the arsenic that came down the Colorado River, the only way to purify that out is to put it through some massive filtering systems, and the absolute best way is to boil it, catch the steam, which leaves all the toxins behind, makes pure H2O, and then to make it alkaline for your body, have some minerals on hand that are organic type minerals. So what do you do if you haven't stored minerals? What's out in nature? Really, any plant that's edible that you want to have the taste of and that's clean, right? You can clean those things with some GSE. I showed you the GSE before, grapefruit seed extract. Wash the plants, and let's say you happen to find some wild peppermint or some kind of horse mint or something up in the mountains. Perfect! So you have the steam distilled water, and then you put some kind of plant in it to make an infusion or an herbal tea, right? That is the best thing that you can drink if you've got nothing else. Now if you get a more purifying type of a plant like plantain, Plantago major, that's going to help purify it at the same time, and it'll help with anti-infection things. There are many other plants that you can learn about that are also anti-infection. It's also wise to use, this is colloidal silver, and colloidal silver is fabulous. This stuff is concentrated to 10 times its strength, and so one of these can be diluted into distilled water and make 10 more bottles and still have a 10 ppm, because this is 100 ppm. So get a good colloidal silver, get some good minerals, or have some herbal plants that you're going to infuse into your water, and as you purify it, leave behind all the junk, boil out. I mean, if you're boiling distilled water and it's making steam, there's no parasites that are going to be in it, unless the catch tray has it in it, right? There's no bacteria, viruses, or anything. It's just pure water. And when you re-alkalize it and prepare it, it's going to be super healing. It's going to be alkalizing. It'll be everything that you need it to be. but make sure that your water goes through all of those filtration processes. You would still want to, before distilling your water, you would still want to go through this phase of first filtering out the solids, then doing a finer filter, which you can do with a clean cloth, right? And then you can put it through some other things, but at that point you really don't have to. You can just distill it. And then in the pan you'll probably be scraping off all of the white stuff that looks like gallstones, but in a layer on the bottom of your pan. All that stuff will scrape off, and it can be cleansed off with vinegar so that you can then start again. So what did we learn about water purification today? You need to get rid of the suspended solids. You need to have a way to get rid of the bacteria, algae, viruses, fungi, minerals that are in an imbalance, and then chemical pollutants. The absolute best way to do it is water distillation. And there are some distillers that are made to go over a camp stove, and they work beautifully. But I would get an actual distiller that is very high quality, and there's an actual class done by Mr. Meter, and he'll teach you all about his water distiller and give you a reduced rate on that. If you guys want to do that class, I can actually run it, and he'll run it for everybody when they're ready, so that you can learn more about the water purification that goes on with distillation. And so this is just an overview, and if you want to learn more, be sure to text, call, or email me, and we'll get the second part of this information to you. Thanks. Drink lots of pure alkalized water.